Welcome to NC Political Tea, the show where North Carolina's political scene gets served piping hot, grassroots style. We're here to shake up the status quo with unapologetically conservative takes and a whole lot of Southern charm. From the halls of Congress to under the dome, we're exposing the deals, the drama, and the dirt that the mainstream media won't touch. Who's fighting for your freedom? Who's selling out to the woke mob? And who's about to get roasted? No fluff, no filters, and absolutely no time for spineless politics. Just bold Republican commentary, sharp analysis, and enough sass to make the left squirm. So grab your sweet tea or something stronger, and let's dive into the hottest headlines and juiciest scandals rocking the Tar Heel State. This is NC Political Tea, where the truth always gets served.
Hello, and welcome. How are you?
What a day. What a week. It's been a really wild week.
Yes, it has been a wild week. By the way, I just want to, full disclosure, North Carolina is having hellacious storms right now. So if both of us actually, and we're, 8 hours apart?
Yeah.
So just, if we go in and out, that's why.
Yeah.
So, all the news, we talked about this on Tuesday. RFK rightfully had an employment issue. The word is a CDC director who was just confirmed went to the media, and that's no good, right? So Mike Johnson came out and said, look, we support RFK. Here's what he said.
Greg Kennedy's doing a great job. There's been a shakeup that's been needed there, and I think we've got to trust the secretary to do his job. They've had some great results there. We're getting America healthy again. That's well received across the country and long overdue in my view. So,
okay, so that's fine. But today he had a hearing. There was a hearing, an oversight hearing. He got his ass kicked from Republicans and Democrats. So, yeah, here's Pocahontas.
Of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to.
I guess this cut out, but she goes on. She doesn't let him talk, but this is kind of a telling moment right here. Watch.
Sat in that chair for how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%.
Wow.
And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening? Today, for the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality has increased in our country. It's not because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
I'm going to let Senator Wyden respond briefly to that.
I mean, I didn't realize what a corpse that Wyden looks like.
Look at half those people look like corpses. I mean, if you look at Bernie Sanders, half the people there, it's so embarrassing.
Well, Bernie's at least an asshole. That puts a little flair.
A lot of them were.
Right. I mean, he's not. Wyden's not. If you're going to be like old and crotchety, you really need to be like hardcore, like all in. So,
Listen, it's the first time in my entire life that I am rooting for a Democrat to do something great because I believe Bobby Kennedy. I think he's doing the right thing. I think what he's come out with about myocarditis, what he's come out about, what we know about the schedule of immunizations, those are all big. Autism.
Yeah. In 1950, the schedule of vaccinations for infants or young, I guess, till 3 were 5. Now it's 15.
No, it's 15. It's actually, Dr. Kat Lindley is a really good friend of mine. She actually put something up about that. It was crazy where they start out, she started with 1963 with 3. And then by 1977 or 78, it had gone up, I think, to like 7. And then now by the time a kid gets in college, they've had 90 vaccinations of some type or another. And that's including boosters. It's insanity. And she also pointed out in her video that she had up that, in 78 is when they said, oh, you can't sue. You can't sue for those vaccines.
Wow. That's convenient. Look, I mean, it is about the asking questions. I know that sounds so dumb, right? We're just asking questions, but it is, a lot of this is answering questions are asking questions, but I'm going to tell you, this is the problem. This is the challenge of having an activist over an agency, because before he said some absolute statements. As an activist, we do that a lot, right? It's like taking me in another 2 years and putting me over, education, right? You're going to go back in time and you're going to hear some shit, right? Because I'm an activist. So, but I just wanted to share this. So what you're looking at right here, guys, is from 2000. So it's only been 25. Actually, this chart ends at 2023. So it's 23 years worth of obesity. Okay. So the blue is severe obesity and the yellow is just obesity. And that's like the 95th percentile in weight. So that's how it's changed. But now we're able to see the age breakout. And when you look, the 12 to 19, and I think that at times with, and I'm just biased because I've got kids in sports, but it is about that time where, you're forced to play kickball, you're forced to do these sports, right? And at 12, if you have a single parent, or because it costs money too, if you're not able to continue on in sports or you opt out of it, that's when you're going to gain the weight.
Well, and also we've done away with a lot of physical requirements in school. We used to do the presidential challenge every year. They don't do that anymore. They don't require gym anymore. It's an elective. That's just, I think that, even in colleges, that was an elective to take PE. It's really sad. And I think we were a much more physical culture, just 10, 15 years ago.
Well, it's the physical part. And it's the food part. And say what you will about, Michelle Obama, and we've said a lot. But the initiative about, making the school lunches healthy, that was a key initiative for her. That was a worthwhile endeavor. And now we're finding that, especially in North Carolina schools, others too, that breakfast is given out free now, lunch is given out, etc. So we've got a lot of and they're a captive audience for 9 months out of the year.
Well, and I think let's just be frank about it. We know that the increase in obesity came up during COVID because nobody was allowed to do anything. And here where I live, because it's pretty rural and poor, not the poorest, but pretty poor, they sent food home to kids. So they had lots of snacks. I noticed there was lots of chips and apples are great. But I mean, they had lots of snacky food. I was like, what are they doing eating these crustable things, which I would never feed my kid?
Well, all kids are different. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons, but these are the facts. And so the most prevalent of severe obesity, and it wasn't that way. When you look at it, it wasn't that way. It wasn't nearly as bad 13 years ago. So what is different? Yeah, I think you're right, because you can see the way that chart is, the COVID messed things up, right? But you spoke about myocarditis, and I just want to put this up because this was a good moment. I mean, I'm just going to tell you overall, I thought RFK's appearance was challenging for him. He had, questions from Republicans and Democrats. He did point it out, and we've pointed out before, that when you're taking a lot of big money from pharma, I wonder how much that impacts your speech and your performance if you're a senator. Well,
and Bernie Sanders, I think, is top of the list for taking donor money from big pharma. And I think up there is also
number one.
Most of the loudmouths are the ones.
Tom Tillis is number one.
Oh, is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was actually disappointing. But he did give him a couple breaks. I mean, he said, well, we'll wait to see what you say. I think one of the ones I thought was most interesting was Grassley was interesting because he talked about myocarditis specifically. And I also thought Dr. Marshall was very interesting from Kansas. He was pretty interesting.
Right. And he was forthright about how many vaccinations are given. But check out this interchange. Here's where I thought RFK, I mean, look, he came in loaded for bear. Period, point blank. I mean, he was ready to go. I will give it to the man. He was ready to go.
Are you saying that a mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions here,
You're
Mr.
evading
Kennedy.
my question.
I'm asking the questions,
I
Mr.
asked you a
Kennedy.
question.
I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of.
Yeah, I mean, Bennett was pissed off because he reversed the roles. I like that. But
I love the fact that he wasn't taking any shit. I mean, I'm just gonna say it plain and simple. He was firing back at him. I thought the one interesting thing to me was Warnock. He was ridiculous. He was all he wanted to talk about was the shooting in the CDC, because it does affect him. Now, listen, the CDC losing the CDC personnel in Decatur, that's a lot of his voting bloc that has money.
yeah, I mean, here's the fact: public health has been politicized the hell out of, and the experts, nobody trusts them anymore. I mean, I don't care what stripe you're from, whether it's this. I mean, you've got Rachel Levine, who is the pediatrician in chief. Remember, it's a dude. This is a guy that you're putting out there. And unless you are brain dead, that is a physical manifestation of a man can be a woman. So that's our public health liaison. They were telling us that masks were effective, enforcing it. They're working with a teachers union. Since when does public health have anything to do with working with the teachers union, which is the Democrat Party apparatchik? I mean,
true.
So,
Listen, what hasn't been captured? Schools have been captured. Health has been captured. Like, what hasn't been captured? The hell, they tried to close the internet down on us, Sloan. We got knocked off YouTube for talking about COVID 3 years later.
We have officially been knocked off of YouTube. This is the third time. That's why we're not streaming on YouTube. So, because we dare mention COVID.
Right. And the point I guess I'm trying to make is, what have they not restricted us on? And where is their trust? I don't know where there's trust. I don't even trust my own church anymore, hardly. And that's a very open, blatant thing to say, because what they did during COVID to people, specifically, members of the church who wanted to go worship and say, they were like, oh, no, you can't walk in here. They really rearranged our brains.
Well, there's a problem with that, because that leads to conspiracy theories.
Well,
we've also seen, when you have the body politic so concerned about that, they're going to look for a North Star to blame things on. That's why we've seen an uptick in anti-Semitism on the right. Seriously. And I saw it way before you guys saw it, because anything that had to do with the Rothschilds or whatever, being a part of the Republican Party became the problem. So I'm just telling you what can happen with in a society when there's no leadership and no center of gravity, which there was during Biden.
I do want to say I wasn't laughing at you for that specific thing. I was thinking about what Amy Gayling said about us at that very moment, because they shoot out at the people that tell the truth. When you're in the middle of all of this distrust,
it's political survival. Yeah, and
you're right. On a grand scale.
So I think it's a good, we're going to follow up with that right now before we bring Annette on. But I will tell you that, when you're dealing with public health and when you've got officials making decisions for the entire population in North Carolina, which has happened in that foreign doctor's law, and they will tell their constituents, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. We all voted for it. And we talked about this in a Senate conference that nobody fucking watched. You didn't have any town halls. And when we busted you, you told us, well, first of all, you insulted us, Mike Sheelitz. Then you told us we were wrong about the law. And then you've got poor Grant Campbell, which I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, Dr. Grant Campbell, coming out and admitting Sloan Ratcliffe was right, and that the law is a bungled piece of you-know-what. And by law, if there is a law that is not clear and a bungled piece of garbage, guess what? That law is not going to be put into effect. So they've got an out on this, and we'll talk about that later. In other words, if you're writing it so that it can mean multiple things, they can repeal this sucker right now on September 22nd when they come in. They need to repeal it. I've been getting messages on LinkedIn, messages on Facebook, messages on X, a couple of direct emails. Doctors in North Carolina have profusely thanked us for standing up. Some of these doctors this is the AMA. So what you're looking at now is the North Carolina version of AMA. and they have been told to pipe down and that a change in the law is coming. And I want everyone to know that we will not stop fighting for American doctors, nurse practitioners, medical students, residents, and PAs in North Carolina until this bungled piece of garbage has been completely repealed. So we're hearing that tweaks are being made to the language. Specifically, I had a rep call me and say, Sloan, you guys are going to really be happy, because let me tell you what we're going to do. Now doctors can come in from like 110 countries. We're going to make it 60. And I said, I'm hanging up now.
Well, I'm not getting those calls. I'm getting, how can we give you money so we can fight this? That's what I'm getting.
Not only are we going to fight it, we're going to fight beyond this. Any more back deals that have to do with the health and welfare and safety of all North Carolinians, we're going to demand transparency. No more selling us out to Blue Cross Blue Shield and your big donors behind our backs.
First thing you could do is make all your hearings public.
Well, they are in the Senate, but you just have to be checking your calendar and ready at like 1:20 or whatever they are at work and watch them.
Yeah, I have all day to do that.
Yeah, well, and reporters don't do a good job here in North Carolina. And to be fair, it's hard. We cover the bills. Oh, by the way, we're going to take ownership. We cover the bills before they are going to be voted on, right? We reviewed this bill. There was nothing to it.
We loved it. We both loved it at first.
But this is a bill that was in committee in the Senate side. We didn't even see it.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, we're not journalists. We're just trolls. So
that's my favorite statement. Join the rest of the internet who likes to call me names, because listen, any kind of publicity is good publicity.
Right. And I think we're at day 18. I've not been asked for a correction. So if you're pissed off and you say I'm lying, where's the lie? Where's the ask for correction? I digress, but we're going to bring Annette on, and she's in the same boat as we are, because when you are calling out the truth, nobody likes the alarm clock when it goes off, right?
Right.
Because it means you have to get up. It's wake up. All right.
Work.
You have to work. Turn to the left. Remember that song? Never mind. Totally inappropriate. All right.
Annette, so much for having me. Thank you so much.
Annette, I have to bring her on, but I have to remove this from the stage first. So Annette, I'm super jealous of you, because you have met with Donald Trump, and
I'm so honored to be here. This has been an 8-year journey for me to raise awareness to the violence that's in public schools and the critical need to address violence in public schools. Again, been doing it 8 years because most administrations like to keep the violence hidden. We have 3 students that should be here with us today. We have Austin McCaff, I'm sorry if I say his name wrong, Serenity Baker, and Nizir Taylor from Charlotte, North Carolina, who was shot in the back as he was getting off of a school bus because they thought he was a part of a big brawl that happened inside a public high school. So this is very important and critical legislation that we have to keep our educators safe, we have to keep our students safe, and public schools have to be safe environments. So I think, like I said, I've done this journey alone, I've been on it, but I have a whole team behind me now. I spoke at the RNC, and I told millions that Donald Trump and his administration was going to make schools great again, and I feel that we're on the right path, and I'm just honored to be here.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
you got that moment.
Wow, was that me? Is my mic on?
Your mic is on.
You're a big star, and you know that because now people don't like to talk to you in your own hometown.
Yeah, they don't like to talk to me in my hometown. Some of my family members don't like to talk to me, my church members, but that's okay. That's okay. We are born alone. We die alone. So that's fine.
Well, it's a legacy.
About the fight for the right.
Yeah, it's a legacy that you leave. I mean, we're not making a big deal over tax code or, some renaming of something or what. We're talking about not only human life, but the dignity of human life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're also, in my case, I'm talking about the most vulnerable population. As with you, Sloan, a lot of these medical doctors are going to target the most vulnerable who don't know any better or any differently. And, we have to stand up and fill in the gap and speak for those people.
Yeah. And the other part is, no, you don't really get parents in the classroom anymore. That's not as permitted as it used to be. So we have to put a lot of trust in these teachers and, the administrators to do things that sometimes they don't do.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct.
No, they don't. And you sent me a video. I'm embarrassed to admit I've not heard of this, but this happened in Greensboro. You have to tell me when.
Right now that 2 students will face.
Hold on, I have to remove this. It's just to let you know that we're not AI. We make a few mistakes, just so you know that we're not as perfect as we seem.
Charges, and this all stems from an assault on 3 different staff members, 2 administrators, 1 teacher, and guys, I just watched that video that a student took of that incident that happened yesterday, and it's brutal. We're not going to show it to you now, but it's not good. The Guilford County Sheriff's Office responded here to Northeast Guilford High School yesterday around 10:30 in the morning. Northeast Guilford High School principal Katrinka Brown sent a message out to all parents following this incident. She stated the situation disrupted the school day, leaving 2 administrators and a teacher hurt. Wow. There were no other students involved and no weapons involved either.
And I'd like to thank the students who did the right thing and reported the situation. We take this matter very seriously.
Okay, right there. Do they take the matter very seriously?
If they are forced to. In that situation, there were students around that recorded, and they immediately tried to get help the educators and the administrators that were involved. So in that particular case, yes, they will take it very seriously because you have the video circulating. If that video had not been circulating, then no, absolutely not. They would have tried to keep it quiet. Let's not call the police. Let's go to the hospital and see, and we're going to handle the students. So that's one reason I'm kind of leery about not having kids have their cell phones, because that's how a lot of these incidents have come out and been reported. It's because the kids are there recording, and before the administrators can come up with a story or, change the narrative, those videos are already out. So yeah, that's one pause I have.
Annette, I was highly against the whole, outlawing cell phones. I think that should be a district or a county level thing. It should not be left to the state legislature. That really bothered me. And you're kind of making the point. I understand it's a distraction in schools. I really get that. But listen, if you can't, as a teacher and administrator, handle that type of thing, what are you doing? If you can't handle people, in your classroom with phones, what are you doing?
Well, I think one of the bigger concerns was that students were using the phones to cheat. So if I had an exam in first period, they were taking pictures of the exam. They were sending it to their friends. Their friends were sending them the answer. Then they had the exam. So, you got kids acing, making 98s and 95s on exams that haven't been in class. So that was one of a huge reason for doing this, not only the distraction, but the part I don't like about it is that it has exposed a lot of the school violence that I've been talking about, that I saw firsthand, and people were saying, no, you're lying. You want to get back at the school system, you're disgruntled. And I was like, no, this is really happening. So with those students capturing those videos, we're able to see now and expose, yes, this is happening. And one thing that I was up against is specifically in the Black community was people saying, okay, they're suspending our kids because they're racist, they're biased, and the school system was set up to fail them. And since these videos now are online like every other day, you have not heard a cry from one politician, no one on the federal level, no one in Congress has uttered the words, "Don't suspend Black students." So we're fully aware that it is an issue and the violence is an issue. The thing we're at now is, what are we going to do about it?
So in Charlotte, there was a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old who just murdered a 17-year-old. 16-year-old will, sit for obviously an adult. But you've got these things going on, and by no means is it only contained to in school. I think we know that. And then, I want to put this up if I can find it for a second. Well, I'll just tell you, Mo Green and the state school board, who are Marxist leftists, they have seen fit to say that now you can be absent for any amount of days. You could be absent for half the year. That is not allowed. You're not allowed to count that as a ding on their grades. And so you've got violent kids who now don't have to be in school. We're feeding the problem.
Right. Absolutely. That was one of the most outrageous things that they've come out with, because what we want to do is we want these kids in school. We want to know where they are, and we want them to have structure. That's the whole point, is teaching them structure. So now you're saying you don't have to come. As long as your grades are good, we're going to pass you. Well, the students who have good grades are coming anyway. It's the students who are chronically absent that's going to say, hey, I don't need to go. And when they're not in school, you're absolutely right. They're out in the streets. They're running with the wrong people. They're getting involved in crimes, juvenile crime in Charlotte, juvenile homicides, 300% juvenile homicides. And you had a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old that killed another 16-year-old who threw his body in front of his aunt to save her life. But he was the target. And those same two are a part of a group that they suspected shot up 6 houses in Charlotte like 2 weeks before, striking an innocent college student in the neck. The last I heard, she was still in the hospital, and also killing a cat. And they're 14 and 16 years old.
I don't care about the cat.
How'd they get the gun? How'd they get the
So
gun?
you're really going to get us in trouble. Care about the cat.
I'm sorry. I'm a dog person. The cat. But I mean, so there's a revolving door. There's a sheriff's race going on now. And I think the current chief has said correctly that, I, meaning he's talking in first person, I can't do anything about this, because as soon as they get in here and are booked, they're let out. So there's a revolving door, and these things know that they can get the young kids to go out and commit these heinous crimes, because they're going to revolve right out the door.
Absolutely. How
are they getting guns, Annette? Where are they getting these guns?
So the majority of these guns are reported stolen. So the majority of guns used in the commission of a crime have been reported stolen by the owner. They can also order guns off the internet, which was huge. Yes, guns can be ordered off the internet. So there's going to have to be a lot of different agencies that come together and say, hey, we got to look at this, and we got to stop this. But the majority of the guns are stolen.
Okay. So, I mean, but again, I mean, we're here to talk about school stuff. If this stuff is the enviros that is around school, they don't just lay out the stuff and drop it at the school door. This type of violence is brought in, but yet the Democrat leaders seem to think there's something magical about school, that in schools, right, Black people are being persecuted, etc. The victims of these crimes are overwhelmingly Black.
Absolutely. And the thing about the Black community, and I was told this just this week, I was told by someone, we agree with every word that you're saying. Everything you're saying is true. but you can't talk about Black people in front of white people because that leaves a door open for white people to be racist. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And he's like, yeah, they're going to make a lot of racist comments. And I will like, it's on the internet. We have this thing now called social media, and Black people can't just go hide out in the church and talk about our problems among each other and come back out like nothing's happening. They know it's happening. They know. So why not address it and come up with strategies these are our children. They're dying and they're killing each other in the streets. And everybody knows.
But I've always said this. I hate it when they boil it down to a color, because truthfully, a lot of it is poor versus not poor, not having the means to go do something to help these kids. For instance, we were talking about sports earlier and obesity. A lot of these kids could be talented athletes if they had enough, if they had people around them and they had the money to be involved in sports. And I don't think it has anything to do with color. I think it has a lot to do with finances, single parent families that are too busy because they have to make the bills work. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Not in 2025.
Okay.
If you look at the census from 2023, 17% of Black people are living in poverty. That is the lowest the poverty rate has been for Black people in the United States. I think what has happened in our communities is the subculture of Black culture, hip hop and drill rap. These are the guys these kids are mimicking. You can see it in their dress. You can see it in the styles they wear. You can, when they talk, and they're all over social media with guns. Today was homicide court in Mecklenburg County Court, and every defendant was Black. Every victim was Black except for one, and he was Latino. So on social media, I think the reason we're seeing this violence now that school has started back, because these kids now are connected all the time, 24/7. Summer break for us was, we went and we saw our family and our cousins, and that was it. But these kids have been linked up on social media. They're arguing, they're beefing, and now they're in schools and they're fighting and they're shooting at each other. So I don't think it's as much as a poverty issue in 2025 as it was back, in the 60s and 70s. I think social media has a lot to do with it. And I also think about the fact that Black people are not living in poverty as badly. And we're giving our children so much more. I mean, in the shooting where I said the drive-by, where the 14 to 16-year-old kids shot up 6 houses, the getaway car was a Mercedes. And it belonged to a family member. So poverty is not the issue. I think that we have a culture that at some point Black people should have said, hey, you know what? We are not going to accept this culture and we're going to push back. And the reason the boys were shooting into the houses is because they had a friend who was killed earlier, a couple of months earlier. Someone made a diss track, put it on social media. So they were trying to shoot into the houses of everyone that liked the diss track on social media. So that is definitely not a poverty issue. That's a mindset and a culture issue.
Absolutely, it is. Wow. Thanks for telling me that. I had no idea. I also want one more area that I consider is urban areas seem to have this much where there's a lot more dense population than in rural areas.
Right. And even in talking with the Huntersville Police Department here in Charlotte, what I was told, again, we have this culture that has produced this mindset and drill rap. And in talking with them and saying, what is some of the background and demographics on these kids who are doing all this shooting and killing? And he told me they live in the suburbs. They're from 2-parent households and the families are doing well. They are mimicking what they're seeing in this culture.
Yeah, you're blowing my mind.
Mine too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All the stereotypes we think are not true.
Well, okay. Then we need to stop with this restorative justice bullshit and this trauma-centered whatever. They need to have their ass kicked in school, because actually the model is built for some avatar that doesn't exist. A downtrodden child of 16 that's been, faced with racism over and over again.
No,
that
absolutely.
is not
Absolutely. And what a lot of people don't know is the restorative justice model started in the prison. That's where the concept came from. And the concept was to make the victim feel whole, especially in the case of an offender.
But they're already in prison. In other words, there's justice being served. They have a penalty, etc., while incarcerated. We're talking about, we talked about last time, literally a therapy session, a circle, all right, where you get together and you're basically telling the victim, look, I know you were punched in the face last week, but this is going to be the way it is, because this guy's going to be in this class, etc., and you're going to have to accept it.
Well, not so much as that, as we're going to get the offender, the person who punched the victim in the face, to be sorry and feel remorse. And when you feel this remorse, then you're going to go to the victim and you're going to be really remorseful. And you're going to say, hey, I am so sorry I punched you in the face. I was wrong. This is what I'm going to do going forward. And the victim's going to say, okay, and we're going to hug and everybody's going to go back to class. Kids are not that mature.
No, I don't know that I am. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if that would work on me.
Right. So the theme behind restorative justice was to restore the victim. It's absolutely no punishment for the offender. The offender is the one that has to do, self-seeking and say, hey, I really hurt this person and I'm remorseful. And then the victim, by accepting that person is remorseful, then the victim is whole again and everybody just goes and, gets along. But we know that's not happening.
No, that's kindergarten talk. That really is.
Yes. Yes.
So we want to get to on the federal level. I know that Trump is taking it seriously, and you and I talked the other night, and I was like, well, what if we just kind of put the DC model of what he's doing now into the nation's toughest schools or something like that?
Right. And so what I found out is that Washington, D.C. is a very complicated place with a lot of layers. So the conversations I've had with the Department of Education, that is exactly what we want to do. We want to get a committee together to come up with the best practices and best policies. We want to look at all these schools and say, okay, which schools are having incidents? Are they high incidents? Are they low incidents? What type of incidents are they having? And then put all that information together and come up with the best policies and practices for all schools. Not just, okay, we're going to let this principal and this school district over here and do it this way, and then we're going to let them over here do it this way. We want to put together something that is consistent, that lays out the rules. If this happens, this needs to happen. If that happens, this needs to happen. And we want it to be consistent so no one can say, oh, well, this is racist, this is biased, this is because I'm a trans. We want to make it as consistent as possible. What we're waiting for is the Department of Justice has to sign off on the Department of Education putting that committee together and get us getting started.
Oh, so you're in the waiting stages, and the preliminary planning has been done, but you're in the waiting stages. Is that right?
We're in the waiting stages, absolutely.
And how is that supposed to be budgeted? Do you know? You have any idea?
We don't know. We haven't gotten that far because we haven't gotten the okay from the Department of Justice. Once we get the okay from them, then we will go back and we will start pulling educators, safety experts, administrators from across the country, because we want every state represented. So we're going to get all those ideas, put them together. And one thing about this that I think will be unique to the Trump administration is this is not just going to be, okay, here's some suggestions, and we're going to throw them out there. We want people that's on the ground, that's going into these schools, especially schools with high incidence. And we want to help them by saying, this is working, this is not, this is what you need to do. So we're not just looking to push paper and policies at these different schools and districts that we know we won't have any way to monitor. We want people actually out at these schools and in these districts saying, hey, this is working, this is not working.
So actually having metrics to be able to hold them accountable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you're out there with Dr. Robert Malone, right? You guys are going into schools. And he's great, and he's a great MAHA guy also, because it all ties in, right? I mean, you know, my son's a competitive athlete, and so, you know, doesn't drink, doesn't do all that. I mean, like literally, because you can't afford to do that and be an athlete at the same time. Athletes of all stripes know that, and that's why parents are dedicated into putting that's a big part of it. I mean, Margot, your daughter also was competitive, but again, you know, we need to make that stuff also in combination with the discipline and all that. I think we need to make those other things also more in reach at the same time.
Right. And so one thing that Dr. Malone and myself discussed is that until we slow down the chaos and the confusion, we have to do that first. We have to get calm academic spaces. We have a forensic high school here in Charlotte where they offer forensics. After 2 years, we have no teachers in the classroom or in the forensics department because of the culture of the school. So not only is this affecting mental and emotional stability, it's affecting the classes we can offer to our students.
If they're going to get their ass beaten. I mean, like literally, if you're making $45,000, $55,000 a year, and you are, you know, berated, and we have shown you guys videos of teachers being slapped, teachers being taunted, you have been assaulted. So it absolutely does happen. Who's going to want that added job stressor?
Rest.
Absolutely. I was at a community meeting last night, and, you know, a part of the concerns is we don't have highly qualified educators in Black schools. Well, if that's the culture of your school, if you're a highly qualified educator, are you going to go to a school where there's fighting, you know, there's assaults on staff, no, that's not the environment you want to be in. If you're highly qualified, you're going to go to the best school in the district. So until we get schools into good academic cultures, then we really can't, everything else you bring in is going to be irrelevant.
Wow. So much going on too in schools, whether it's in North Carolina or nationally.
It's discipline first. And I saw that you commented too on the ridiculousness that's been going on in the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County public schools. By the way, guys, if you're watching and you're not from North Carolina, or you don't know, or you don't have a kid here, I think it's the 5th largest school system. And when you look at units of government, the school system is the smallest unit of government. It's the school system, right? And then it's the city or the county or whatever. And well, let me just play this video. This is going to set it up. It's been going on since April. And what you're about to see is a woman named, first name's Kathy, forgot the last name, but she was here in Wake County. Just to show you what a dingbat she is, she changed her name and wanted to be called Catty because it sounded more Hispanic at one point. Okay, so she's explaining why there's a dumpster fire. This is early in the explanation, but we're going to go on because we're going to tell you how much was bonuses and how much they're in arrears right now.
Here that is worthwhile to latch onto in terms of all of the positives for the community.
Oh, yeah.
And we have to remain and sort of refocus around what it means to live, work, and play in this community and for the district.
The interim superintendent of the Winston-Salem-Forsyth County School System offering reassurance to the community the district will be a place to be proud of in the future, but it's going to take some time. Good evening. This is the Fox 8 5 o'clock news. I'm Neil McNeil.
And I'm Katie Nordine. Cotty Moore's message comes after the North Carolina Office of the State Auditor released its rapid response special report regarding the district's financial crisis. The office started the review after getting concerns from the state auditor's tip line. So what does that report say? Well, it cites 7 causes for the district's more than $46 million deficit.
What?
First, the district failed to adjust its full-time equivalent, or FTE, staffing despite a decrease in its students' enrollment population. Second, the district used temporary federal COVID-era funds, ESSER funds, to pay staff salaries and did not remove positions.
By the way, let me jump in here. Everything they're listing, every other school district is doing or has done. Okay, so this
Absolutely.
So we're going to go on. By the way, this you can copy and paste this everywhere. Ready? Here we go.
When the temporary aid ended. Third, the district regularly approved purchase orders that exceeded its balances available and did not revise these budgets.
The report also points out the school system did not reconcile budgeted and actual revenue and expenses in a timely manner, and because no one took corrective action, there was a
Okay, so
Well, you guys you do know 2 things. First of all, that lady, Kati, she's making $480,000 a year. That's her salary. Secondly, the superintendent that was in charge there retired, magically moved to Florida.
Okay, so this April 25th, it comes out, you know, in the school board meeting, we 45 million in the hole, blah, blah. And 2 days later, the CFO and the superintendent, they kicked rocks. I mean, they got on a damn plane and said, we're heading out. We don't want any part of this. Okay. And so, you know, the audit showed that they're in the hole, but I just want to tell you guys, I mean, this is Wake County. This is every other county, by the way, as they are laying people off, as they are, you know, saying that they need more of our money, constantly more of our money.
Raising our taxes.
Yeah. And so, you know, about the only one, in my opinion, that's doing their job up in Raleigh right now, because I'm pissed off, is Dave Bullock. We've had him on the show a number of times, and he's basically sitting here saying, look, they dug themselves in a financial hole, and, you know, you got to be teaching students, and you are, you know, you done messed up, basically. So today, that's been going on since April. Today, he says, look, you're going to have to get this stuff under control, etc. And they're still not doing it. They're still asking for more money. And, you know, when I ran Michelle Morrow's campaign for superintendent, you know, we advocated for getting that money directly to the classroom. It looks like the money is in a bunch of people's wallets somewhere that has nothing to do with the classroom.
Well, I have a couple points in that, if you don't mind. First of all, where's the county commissioners? They ultimately have to approve the spending. Where the hell are they? That's one thing I'd say. And
they're all Democrats, 2 of them.
Right. And then I think the other thing I would say about this whole entire issue is, I don't know if y'all heard this, it was very late in the afternoon, where the state school board has decided they're going to meet and see if they want to fine them. Like, they have no money. Where are you going to get the money? Yeah.
So, okay. So first of all, Alan Duncan, who sits on the state school board, came out of the Forsyth County School Board a while back. Interestingly enough, so did our beloved Dale Falwell, the former state treasurer. But Alan Duncan is a putz, is what we call them in the Jewish world. And he is he's a white man, but he's one of those Black Lives Matter white men that's like he's trying, you know, the type they're trying to improve the field. So he's concerned about, you know, just how this is going to make people feel in the school. We need to cut the shit. I mean, this is insane. I mean, $45 million in the hole. They were giving something on the order of $75 million in bonuses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
To themselves.
The kids scheduled and attended a walkout yesterday in protest for what has happened to their schools, which is kind of sad if you think about it. How do you organize that?
Who organized it?
That's what I was,
Right. Right. One of the things that I will say is when I was going through my whole debacle with CMS, I did get in my car and drive to Raleigh several times and talk to everyone that will allow me in their office. And I said, hey, who is responsible for managing or holding the school board accountable? And they said the voters. There was absolute. I'm sorry?
That's not true. It's really the governor.
No, that's not true either.
Well, that's what I always thought.
No. So let me teach you guys something.
Okay.
We are different here in North Carolina. When we're talking about Florida or Virginia, when the governor comes in, they bring in their own team, they bring in their own school board, etc. Right. Us in Arizona are a little bit different in this way that, we're very different in that the General Assembly has the lion's share of responsibility of all schools, the lion's share, right? And the way that it should work, right, is the auditor who really has no teeth right now, right? They come out with an audit and they say, first of all, to take the audit on a tip line is something we haven't seen, okay? So the auditor will come out, and we've seen this happen, that says, hey, you're this much in the hole, you're this, you're that. So when it comes to appropriations, the General Assembly has 100% control over appropriations. So let's take ESSER funds, for instance. The ESSER fund will come in as a federal grant. The DPI, Department of Public Instruction, they'll write that grant saying, okay, we've got these funds available, etc. Well, the grant comes in, it is dispersed by the General Assembly. The General Assembly does appropriations. State money by the General Assembly. So technically, now I'm guessing on this, they can withhold, I'm not guessing, they can withhold the money, right? They can do things. So the oversight could be done by hearing. We never have them do oversight by hearing. They can definitely pull them in because when it comes to funding, the General Assembly does the appropriations. The General Assembly is also in charge of general curriculum of our 12 academic subjects. So the General Assembly has the lion's share of control. And I'm going to tell you something else. They've been in control for more than 20 years.
Way more. It's in our Constitution, actually.
Republicans.
It's in the North Carolina State Constitution.
But what's in the statutory obligation to this. And in 20 years, we've had Republicans in control. And yet we have had a degradation of scores, an increase of violence, etc. John Corbett has written several bills that would address the problem that you're having right now. I think you know this, and you know John. And his bills haven't made it out of committee, some of them. One of them. Yeah. So I'm gonna drop some truth on y'all, and I'm not gonna keep my inside information inside anymore. Those bills aren't sexy, etc. They would have you believe that the governor is in charge. They would have you believe that the state board is in charge. That's not true, because if you don't have control of the money, if you don't have the money control, you ain't got nothing.
Right.
They control the money. Why would they give them another money? It's like the ESSER funds are distributed through them, but they have no oversight. And actually, one more time, we have a joint oversight committee that is oversight in the General Assembly. Last time I checked, they haven't met in a couple years.
Right. We had a superintendent here at Charlotte-Mecklenburg, and we've been saying for years that we need a forensic audit because their budget is one of the biggest budgets. It's like now up to $2 billion a year. And they're always saying
they need to order an outside audit from a third party audit.
Right. And we had a superintendent who came to the district, and it took him no time to realize no one's keeping up with where the money is going. So what he did was he set up his family members to act as contractors and things of whatever. And he started streaming income to them.
Wow.
And and they let him resign, and he went on peacefully about his business. And so when we were talking about accountability, like, well, how can they just do that? Why don't they press criminal charges against him? And I was told that, they can pretty much do their own thing, and the voters just have to vote them out.
Well, when you're talking about, sorry, I'm adjusting my screen. When you're talking about money, that's when the General Assembly can come in. I mean, the school boards are autonomous, right? I mean, they're allowed to do certain things, but when it comes to mismanaging taxpayer money,
there's another piece of it. A lot of counties have millage set specifically to draw money for the schools. And that money specifically is handled at the purse strings are handled by the county commissioners.
It's a very small percentage, though.
Right. Yeah, that's a very small percent.
It depends. Like for us, a small percentage to you is a huge percentage here. So in rural communities, it matters because we set aside extra funds in a specific tax just to build a new school.
Well, in that audit, it's showing the ESSER funds specifically. So ESSER funds are federal, right? Well, I mean, I'm only going by the information provided, right? So should the county do something? Yes, they should be the front line. But you're not going to have the county commissioner in Charlotte do something, or Wake County or that. And so when you're talking about state and federal, Margot, I think that's probably, I want to say, I hope I'm correct, probably about either 87% or 90%. So the lion's share.
Right.
And so, with the General Assembly doing all this stuff in that, and they've been passing, I don't know, over 100 laws. What are they doing? What are they actually doing?
Absolutely nothing. And my opinion is that we have to have some consistency. There has to be some type of guidelines. For instance, if I say, hey, I don't make enough money to buy grocery, I need to go and get EBT. There are federal guidelines that I have to follow to qualify, and they have to know this, and they have to know where this money is going, and that's money. But it's oversight. But as far as school districts, from what I've been told, there is none. We had a superintendent who lost millions of dollars, millions lost, never located again. And he resigned and moved on to the next job. No criminal investigation, no forensic audit. Every year CMS has what they call an expenditure audit. But all that is can you show receipts for what you're buying? Well, yeah, anybody could do that. I could do that. But can you tell me exactly where, $1.9 billion went? And I need to know what contractor, who bid, what for. No, you haven't gotten that. And we've changed superintendent, 5 times in 10 or 11 years? No forensic audit, nothing. So you're changing leadership, and you don't know what you're starting with and what you're supposed to end up with. You're just pushing that person out, bringing the new person in, and no financials.
Yeah, and we're asked every year, demanded, berated, we're not paying enough, we're not paying enough, we're not paying enough. Well, where's the money? Yeah, where's the money going? Teachers, we all agree, need to be paid more. Where's the money?
But at the same time, as you want to talk about teacher pay, we see in rural areas specifically, you see the number of students coming to school decline. So if you're keeping the budget up here, but they're declining in the numbers, what's going on?
And that was the question to one of our county commissioners asked here in Charlotte, and he refused to sign the new budget because he was like, student enrollment is decreasing, but each year you guys ask for more money. Where is the money going? And they brought him back like a simple PowerPoint, but it wasn't a detailed explanation of why they needed extra money. And another thing, which I thought was absolutely crazy, the school board questioned the superintendent about a $500,000 contract that she has signed with one company to train principals. And with this particular company, the CEO of the company or someone on a higher level had formerly worked for CMS, which, she did not reveal. And his wife, had a contract, and, it's like you got $500,000 going to one family. And the board questioned her extensively about it. And the Charlotte Observer did a deep dive into it. And the board members still approved the contract. That's more money than she makes.
That's crazy. And yesterday I saw an article, and I don't know if it was in the Charlotte Observer, where they let a vendor write the RFP and then they signed off on it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So guys, an RFP is a proposal. So in other words,
request for
a proposal for services, etc. The RFP is, hey, we're looking to hire blah, 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 blah. So basically it's tantamount to writing your own job description. And then that's crazy.
That happened yesterday. That was written. I think Joe Bruno wrote that story.
And that's one reason why when the Trump administration withheld that additional funding, what they were asking is like, what measurement are you using to make sure that you're getting a return on your investment? We're not seeing anything. They're saying, hey, this program's working, this program's not, here's the success rate, this is how many students were impacted. Nothing. They're just signing, boys want to have fun. Okay, that sounds like a good organization. Yeah, you go ahead, we'll sign that and we'll send it over to this school over here. And so they were like, this is additional funding that's supposed to go towards closing the achievement gap or improving student success. And we have nothing that shows us that it's working.
Crazy. Well, we've been lighting our tax money on fire. I'm glad that federal level Trump's doing something. I'm glad that Dave Bolduc's doing. We've talked to him a number of times on the show, and he's saying that he's even, his organization keep up with the violence issue is. I mean, there's so much going on, and I'm very frustrated right now with the lack of. I don't know what it is. The lack of accountability. Yeah, and what are they making laws about and celebrating that and patting each other on the back for? We need to have oversight. That is something the General Assembly has not done in years.
Absolutely.
Oversight.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, has been my biggest complaint with the Department of Education is they do send out these guidelines, but then there's no follow-up or accountability. It's almost like a suggestion. And I'm like, well, they're not going to do it. So why are we even send? And I'm saying, if we can't put out from the Department of Education anything that's enforceable, why are we doing it? We already know they're not going to cooperate.
Right.
Well, we have it at the state level too. We just shared a ton of audits from medical providers, nursing homes, the medical board, as horrific as that is. And to our knowledge, there's been no oversight. So I think we're going to shift gears here in our asks to the General Assembly. Stop patting yourself on the back for a lot of laws. A lot of them are, first of all, you should only make a law only if it extends the liberty of the citizen, period.
Right.
And don't tell me you're making 100 laws or whatever they've been making. And again, to your point, Margo, why make a law if there's no oversight? Because I guarantee you, we'd be arrested and put in jail. There, we have oversight. The government has to have oversight.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's where we have fallen short on every level, because even to me, having a rogue school board, that's dangerous. That's dangerous stuff.
I agree with you.
And we're seeing that. So thank you very much for coming on. This has been
absolutely.
Again, I'm having to adjust, my knowledge here, because you've really exposed a lot of, things we are not aware of here. So, and that's the whole point of the show. So thank you. And thank you for what you're doing with Trump administration.
Keep fighting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I get the pushback that I get, is because I am exposing, I told the head of the NAACP, we're not fighting in 2025. We don't have the same challenges. It's not oppression, slavery, and racism. It's a culture issue. It's not even a poverty issue.
You were called a white supremacist, right?
Yes, I've been called a couple of things. A KKK. Yeah.
You, Larry Elder, Winston Sears, Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
Y'all, I mean, I'm sorry. What a cult.
Yes. Yes. And, my whole thing is making safe academic spaces for children. Because if a child is living in poverty, to lift them out of poverty.
Yeah. And they have to feel safe. So
right, they have to feel safe.
Bottom line,
I love that you're fighting for the kids. Like we're fighting. You're one of us. You want to fight for North Carolinians. Doesn't matter if they're in Charlotte, if they're in Cherokee County, or down in New Hanover County. You want to fight for the best of North Carolina.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's regardless the race, gender identity, whatever. I want kids to just feel safe so that they can learn. Period.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for what you're doing. We will follow up with you soon. Guys, thank you. We'll be back on Tuesday, and then we'll have on Monday what we're going to have on, because I think we're going to have something really exciting.
Okay. So, sounds good.
That's a wrap on today's NC Political Tea. We hope you're leaving sharper, spicier, and ready to take on the political craziness in the Tar Heel State. If you loved what you heard, or you get to subscribe, leave a review, and share this show with your friends, family, and that one coworker who just needs the truth. Follow us on social media to stay in the loop and get your daily dose of conservative fire. And remember, here in North Carolina, the grassroots grows stronger when we stand together. Hey, keep up the fight, and don't let the left water down your tea. This is NC Political Tea, where we spill it like it is.